Hello and welcome to Planet Nutrition. My name is Luke, I'm a nutritionist, and in this video we're talking about building muscle on a plant-based or vegan diet. This is one of the most common things that I get asked about. If you have made the switch to a more plant-based or a vegan diet, you might hear from people, where do you get your protein? For example. So in this video, I want to kind of explain some misconceptions about protein on a plant-based diet and also some tips for building muscle, reaching your goals, because it absolutely is possible. So first of all, let's get into the topic of protein. What is protein? Proteins are strings of what are called amino acids. You could imagine these like little Lego blocks. Each by themselves, just a small thing, but when you put them together, they can make structure. And so all of the structures in our body are made out of protein and amino acids at their core. So our skin, our hair, our muscles, of course, also our bones, they give structure and also function to our body. So all of our enzymes, everything that we use for digestion and metabolism, that's also mediated by protein. So they're really important for our health. But this is also where some of the misconceptions come in. So how much protein do you think that you need? Do we need to be eating heaps of protein with every single meal? Or maybe we don't need as much protein as we think. So let's look at the recommended daily intake for protein. That's set at 0.8 grams per kilogram. So if you're 100 kilograms, that's about 80 grams per day. If you're 50 kilograms, that's only about 40 grams per day. And you can actually get this in one plant-based meal if you're focusing on protein. But also this is like the average for everyone, and there's more benefit to getting more protein than this if you're active, if you're wanting to build muscle. So from the research looking at protein, it seems to be about 1.6 grams per kilogram per day, which is optimal, and you can calculate that depending on your body weight. Your body weight times 1.6 and you'll figure that out. But this also isn't a huge number, it's still very doable and very reachable, and you can even aim a little bit higher than this if you want as well. It's still pretty easy to do. But the way that I like to look at this, because I want you to feel confident about the food choices you're making and not feeling like you're having to obsess every meal and worrying about, did I get enough protein or did I get enough of this or that? Focusing on the principles of a healthy diet, and this is building a balanced plate. So every meal, we literally just have to focus on including a protein-rich source. So this could be something like tofu or tempeh, lentils or beans. I'll put up a picture. This is from the Canada Food Guide, which is the kind of optimal plating method. Basically, focusing on including a variety of different foods and a protein source with each meal. And you'll be surprised that you can easily hit that amount of protein in a day. So, for example, you could start your day with a smoothie. That's something that I love to do because it's easy and you can put in heaps of amazing nutrition in there. So a smoothie with a scoop of plant-based protein powder, for example, maybe some soy milk in there as well, some bananas, some berries. That could be 35 grams of protein. And then imagine for lunch, we have something like a recipe that I offer in my plans for clients, a quinoa and roasted chickpea Buddha bowl, with another 30 to 35 grams of protein. So we're already at about 60 to 70 grams of protein, and we're only at lunchtime. And imagine we have a little snack. Another recipe that I give my clients, high protein oat cookies, 17 grams of protein per serving. And then for dinner, we've got lots of options, a curry, pad thai. I'm just sharing some things that I give with clients, but easily 25, 35 grams of protein. And you can see how you can be hitting 100, 120, 140 grams of protein per day. For me, I'm about 68 kilos. And so if I multiply that by 1.6, that's about 108 grams of protein per day to be optimal. And you can see how you can easily hit this and a lot more by eating a plant-based diet, even mostly based around whole foods that are not just going to be giving us the protein we need, but also nutrients like fiber and polyphenols to support our gut health, omega-3 fats to support our brain and skin health, and all of the other essential nutrients that we need to thrive. So we're not just focusing on macros over everything, we're getting all of those micronutrients that are important for all of the metabolic processes in our body that are going to help us to feel amazing, feel energized, and make sure that we're getting everything that we need to be healthy now and in the long term. So that's really my philosophy with this, just focus on including a protein source with each meal. It can be helpful. Some people might like to track, you know, on Chronometer or MyFitnessPal. Those are some apps that can do that. Maybe even just for like a week, just so you can kind of get a bit of an idea of what you're eating and then freestyle. And other people, you might not like to track, but just knowing that including a protein source with each meal, you're going to be likely getting enough protein every day, not just to survive, but an optimal amount to build muscle as well. So the next tip for this is getting enough calories. And this can be difficult for some people because if we are eating kind of a more whole food, plant-based diet, the foods are a little bit less calorie dense. And this is amazing if weight loss is your goal, for example, because you can feel full and satiated by eating less calories, and that's just incredible. But if you are wanting to put on mass or build muscle, you do need to eat a lot of calories, and I'll put a link in the description to a calculator to calculate your energy needs for the day. But if you have made that switch to a plant-based diet, you might need to eat a little bit more volume of food that you did before. And something else to be aware, it's great to be eating whole foods, but sometimes we might need to include some more processed foods as they are more calorie dense. So for most of the population, we're wanting to probably move more away from processed foods, but depending on your goals, it can be helpful to include some. So there are like vegan meat alternatives, for example, white rice. This can be helpful with meeting our caloric needs because we need enough protein, but we also need enough calories if we are working out and exercising that are going to give us the energy that we need. And we don't want to be restricting ourselves and feeling tired and not good, especially if we're wanting to reach these goals, to build muscle and to feel good and confident or whatever. Making sure that you're getting enough calories each day is really important. I'm also going to put a link in the description to a list of the most calorie dense plant-based foods. So things like nut butters can be really good. So like peanut butter, cashew butter, almond butter, they're a great way to add more calories. Nuts and seeds are also good. They're quite dense sources of calories and they also have a good amount of protein. And things like dried fruit and stuff can also be helpful. Like white rice, sweet potatoes. These are all good options to add more calories into our diet if that's something that we need. And so the third tip is exercise. Like we need to actually be putting in the work, giving our body the stimulus to want to build that muscle. So following an exercise plan, it can be helpful working with a personal trainer, or there's heaps of amazing information online as well. But I just want to mention that that's not my area of expertise, but it is important to mention we do probably need to have some idea or be following a program to make sure that we're optimizing our time in the best way. Number 4 is just to briefly touch on supplements as well. Supplements that I'd recommend is like a protein powder, probably can be helpful. You don't need one, but it can be nice, you know, adding that into a smoothie, for example, just to bump up that protein a little bit more. The next one is creatine, and creatine is one of the probably the most studied supplement for performance and exercise. And basically what creatine does, it goes into our muscle cells and it allows them to utilize a little bit more energy. So we can do a little bit more work in the gym. It's not a massive increase, but it does make a difference. It also pulls more moisture into our muscle cells, so it can make our muscles look a little bit more full and big. So that can be helpful if that's your goal of building muscle. And there's also new research coming out showing that it might be beneficial for mental health potentially, and cognitive performance and memory. That's maybe another kind of underrated or unknown benefit that it could have as well. And with creatine, people talk about doing like a loading phase and then going down to like a maintenance dose. But honestly, you can just start taking it and eventually your body will reach saturation of creatine in the muscle cells. It does take a little bit longer. I just personally find that easier. 5 grams per day is pretty good for most people. And also another question I get asked about creatine is like, do I have to go on it and off it, cycling it? And that is not the case. It's not really like a drug or something that you build up tolerance to. It's just a compound that our muscles use for energy. So if we are working out and exercising, we want that to be there all the time. We don't need to go on and off it, but you do need to remember to take it every day to get the most benefit from it. And there are some other supplements that can be helpful, but honestly, I think creatine is a really good base, and these other ones are more if you're really going hard on performance, if you're an athlete. So I think for like the general person wanting to build muscle on a plant-based diet, it's not really necessary to include other supplements. And number 5, the final tip, just coming from a little bit of a holistic perspective as well, is we really still need to focus on sleep and recovery. When we're sleeping, that's when our body is repairing and growing. So we need to give ourselves the time to relax, to restore. If we're constantly stressing, pushing ourselves, staying up late, watching Netflix, whatever it is, we could be missing out on the benefits of all of this work that we're doing. So it's amazing to be eating really well and getting in that protein and calories and whole foods that are going to make us feel good, and getting in that exercise. But we also need to do that work of like restoring, resetting, sleeping, so that our bodies have that ability and space to actually do the work and build the muscle. And sleep isn't just important for this, it's important for all aspects of our well-being. I actually have a video on sleep if you want to learn more and some tips to improve your sleep. I'll put that in an annotation. And so, it doesn't have to be complicated. Building muscle on a plant-based diet, there's many people out there doing it, and I'll put some links to some people that I follow in the description who are plant-based athletes, showing that it is possible. There's so many people that are out there that are very muscly. I mean, that's not my goal personally. I just want to look like fit enough that I'm taking care of myself and I feel good. Like, that's my reason for exercising, just to feel good and like be healthy. But if your goals are to get massive and be a bodybuilder or whatever, like that's totally possible as well. But to put it all together, being aware of protein, we don't need to be obsessed about protein, just being aware of it, including a protein source with each meal. Also being aware that we're getting enough calories as well, making sure we're following a good exercise program, maybe taking some supplements if we want and that aligns with our goals as well, like creatine for example. Taking that time to reset, relax, get enough sleep and recover well. And if we're doing all of those things, do them consistently over time and you will see the result. It's not super complicated, but it does take effort over time. And if you put in that effort, it is worth it and you will be able to reach your goals. So I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you are needing some more help with this, more guidance and a bit more of structure around your meals, this is the work that I do with my clients. You can book in for a free 30-minute health consultation at the link in the description. And I also have other offerings like my wellness plan where you get full recipes and everything that are high in protein to help you reach your goals. So if that's something that interests you, you can check that out below. Hope you've enjoyed this video. Stay healthy, my friends, and I will see you in the next one.